New update for Backpack Battles is out with a new recipe and a bunch of balance changes, so let's take a look together. Also, again, I'll be live later today on Twitch if you want to see me try these out and see if we can cook up some cool builds. But the first new recipe is the Cap of Discomfort. This is when you combine the normal cap that we have right now together with a corrupted crystal. So the normal cap, to remind you, has a reduction of damage taken by 25% for 3 seconds. Also 15% chance to prevent a hit from being critical and 15% chance to, not get stunned. But the Cap of Discomfort, when upgraded, has 25% reduction in damage for 5 seconds. So that is 2 extra seconds that you take less damage, which is pretty impactful if you're playing like a Fatigue Reaper or a Poison Reaper, or any build that wants to live for longer than 3 seconds to a ranger. Also, you no longer prevent crits and stuff like that. It changes to whenever your opponent gains a buff, you have the 15% chance to nullify it, which buffs lots of builds want to get luck, for example, in ranger, or spikes, or think about Bloodthorn, Vamp. Lots of builds require buffs, so having a 15% chance to nullify it, pretty good. You can also boost it with Lucky Pig if you want to increase the chance. And the most important thing probably about this cap is that your opponent's healing is reduced by 30%. So normally you would have to find purple gems and put them in armor. That's the main way that you counter healing from your opponent, because it reduces it. Now you can just make this, and it's kind of like a wombo combo. It has other bonus effects tied into it. You just don't have the chance anymore to remove a crit or to prevent being stunned. But I mean, no one really plays stuns anyway at the moment. So I think it's a really good item. I think Cap of Discomforts are super important if you're playing any build that doesn't want to one-shot your opponent, or if you're facing a lot of unhealing. So yeah, I assume you're gonna see this a lot. It's expensive though. You gotta get a cap for 7 gold and then a crystal for 7 gold, so 14 gold to make this. And crystals are pretty useful in other builds, like in Poison you want to put them in armor for armor gain, of course, so you lose that. And again, for Fatigue Reaper you want crystals for damage, so it's a little bit weird to make Cap of Discomfort because it's the best in those builds, in those slow builds, but your crystals are also useful. So we'll have to see how much play it actually sees. Now the Blood Amulet, which is the item that makes all of the vampiric items, now additionally gives plus 20 max health start of battle. I think this is huge. Right now you barely see people just take an amulet for the vampiric, the 2 vampiric. You merely take it for vampiric gloves, or if you want to make a vampiric goobird, or a bloody dagger, I guess. But yeah, most of the time it's just a combined item that's very expensive. Now you could just buy it and actually play it on the board. You get the 2 vamp if you have a bunch of I don't know, little weapons that attack in. But the plus 20 max health, we don't have anything right now giving max health, only healing you back up. This is better than a strong health potion, which heals you for 18, I'm pretty sure, once you're low. I mean, health potions arguably are better because they trigger other potions and things like that. But yeah, you could stack a bunch of blood amulets technically and get 100 plus HP, which is very expensive though. But you also get the vamp, so you can synergize it with something. I just think it's a nice buff. You might just see people pick it up more often now. And actually vampiric was already pretty strong. You saw a lot of hungry blades kind of stuff. This might push it over the edge to being really good. After buying deck of cards, 1 card is offered instantly in its spot. Just a nice quality of life change. Deck of cards isn't that strong right now. It doesn't see damage play, so just buying a deck of cards and instantly getting offered a card, it's cool. It's cool. It's not gonna make it suddenly really good, but it's nice. Poison Ivy, which is still pretty bad right now. It inflicts 2 poison per spike now. I think that's doubled, right? The poison threshold went from 13 to 19 though, so now you gotta hit 19 poison to deal more bonus damage. But I mean, if you inflict 2 poison per spike, this is actually better. It's not even doubled, so it should be even easier to get there. Poison when reaching threshold 5. I'm not 100% sure what this means. I think this means that once you hit the 19 threshold, you inflict an additional 5. That's what I think, but I could be wrong about that. I think Poison Ivy could legit see play now, because I know there's some buffs to spikes as well here, and a nerf to Ripsaw Blade, and spikes got buffed last patch as well. So I think Poison Ivy in the right spike build could see play. The issue is still that it does not give you crits and stuff like that. Ranger cares a lot about dealing a lot of damage, about critting, about gaining luck. Poison Ivy doesn't do any of that. But both the leaf, which gives you regen as well, which is really good to gain spikes with Bloodthorn, and then gives you luck with blueberries, and then the arrow of course gives you crit and bonus crit damage. Poison Ivy doesn't do any of that. All it does is it reduces debuffs that you get from different places and inflicts poison, and then only eventually you get extra bonus damage if you inflict enough poison with the spikes that you gain. So we'll have to see if more of a defensive spike ranger will be viable, but I don't know. Let's test it. Broom, remove the mana requirement, so Broom can now inflict blind. You needed mana for Broom to have a chance to inflict blind. Now that is just always a chance to inflict blind, which makes Broom better. Broom was already not great of a weapon. This might buff the crit with staff build, because the main issue with it was just playing Broom early to then build into crit with staff and put lamps onto it. So that is nice. Box of Riches now costs 5 gold, so 1 less gold, slight buff to it, which I think is fine. Dusk Piercer got buffed again, it got buffed last patch as well, still bad. Now plus 2 damage, just 2 whole damage extra added onto it, which I think is pretty good. I think Dusk Piercer could see play if again spikes will be viable, because as long as spikes aren't good, Dusk Piercer isn't good. And I mean, spikes is good with certain other things, right? But Dusk Piercer is just awkward because you eat your spikes. Every hit that you do with another weapon that the Dusk Piercer is looking at, it eats those spikes for the damage and doesn't even scale. It's like a one-hit punch. But maybe you could cook up something cool. I'm definitely gonna try. Ripsaw Blade's cooldown went from 1.7 to 1.8, so 0.1 second extra. I don't know how big of a nerf that is to Ripsaw. It's maybe somewhat significant, but you'll still see it a lot. Shovel's cooldown went to 2.4, so it got nerfed again. And the stamina cost to 1.7. So I think running double Shovel right now, I mean, to be fair, stamina goes up, but so does the cooldown, so your stamina per second should still relatively the same. But yeah, running double Shovel now is gonna get worse again. I still think it would be decent in Reaper, because Reaper doesn't really care too much about the damage that this inflicts, or you know, it just cares about maybe inflicting the blind and just digging up items, digging up more food, and just stacking your backpack and staying alive, right? You don't play this as your main weapon, so I think it's still playable in Reaper. On Ranger, probably not, because Ranger does care about the damage output that it has, so increasing the cooldown again definitely hurts that. Now, Pan's cooldown went from 2.1 to 2.2, which I think is fine. Pan is still strong. It's still a great opener in Reaper, maybe even on Ranger. This means that it consumes slightly less stamina, and yeah, it's slightly weaker, but it should still see play. Hammer now has +1 damage. That is not the buff that we needed to see to Hammer. Hammer is just, every time I pick it up, I die so fast, because it has a low accuracy, it only has 50% to stun. The stamina is insanely high, you can't run any other weapons with it. And even with just Hammer itself, it stims out. It's crazy. It's super slow. So I think the +1 damage does not address any of the issues that I currently have with Hammer, with making it really good. But maybe that's fine. Maybe Hammer doesn't have to be really good. But yeah, I don't think the +1 damage is gonna change much about Hammer. Leather Armor now resists 3 debuffs. Oh, Leather Armor was just armor before, literally nothing else. Now it also resists 3 debuffs. It's like putting 3 coals in your armor. Pretty nice bonus. We might see this being picked up more now, instead of just for the 54 or 45 extra armor to start with. Pineapple Skulls got reduced. Nice. It's still a very clunky food item because it's so big, and it's 7 gold is still pretty expensive. Honestly, I have no clue how it was ever 8 gold. Honestly, I think there should be 6 gold. I think 7 is still quite a lot. But okay, a buff to spikes again. A lump of coal in armor now generates an extra block, so it was still the weakest in armor, but yeah, you start with 6 block now, which is not bad. So the biggest fix here that I want to highlight is that the start of battle button is now disabled when the item is in front of it. Sometimes I stacked my items so high that I couldn't grab them because the start button was in the way. That is now not possible anymore. And shaders are now pre-compiled to prevent stutters. I've had a lot of issue with stutters. I don't know about you guys, but very often, like a couple times every time I play, my game just freezes for like a second. So I think this is a fix for it. I hope it is. Items now prefer to participate in starter recipes over starting new ones. This is mainly when you're combining things in your backpack, the ordering of what it wants to combine with. Items now light up when they affect the hovered item. Before they only did when dragging an item. Okay. Added round countdown to survival mode. A quality of life change, and move the reroll rope out of the storage area. So let me know what you guys think of these patch notes and what you're gonna try out first as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.